you that are viewing, thank you. For those of you that are going to view this later, thank you. And for all of our new subscribers over the last week, thank you. Really, we love you, honest. So we're gonna start like we always do with our round robin, give you an introduction of who everybody is, so you get an idea. And today, our special guest that we have today. And yes, if you guys followed the commercial, it was going to be Erica Stevens from Gal Friday, but Erica Stevens.
Hi, Erica.
Yeah, that's right. Erica Stevens is actually code words from Mike Schwerin. Erica's sick, so get well, Erica, and we'll catch you around when we do the nonprofits, because she actually has a nonprofit business too, and we'll talk about that instead. And that's coming up in the future, a couple months ahead, and I'll roll a video next week talking about our upcoming scheduling and the themes we've got in the months ahead. That being said, let's get things started with the roll call. Mr. Lippens?
Hi, my name is James Lippens. I am a payroll person here with the Business Squad. I run a business called the Payroll Vault. We do cloud-based payroll solutions for small and medium-sized businesses. I'm also the new dad here.
Woo!
So,
Congratulations.
Yeah,
that's right.
But
Proud papa of.
hi, Lily.
Yeah, Lily. All right.
Yeah. So.
Already throwing her in the spotlight.
That's
Of
right.
course. She's cute like that. I'm hoping I can put her on some commercials going forward.
Perfect.
Make a little extra funds for the college tuition.
There you go.
Because when she's 18, it's going to be like $1 million a year to send your kid to school.
Yeah.
So.
That's another topic. Isn't it?
Honest to God, seriously.
We should have that topic. You know, the argument.
I don't think
college.
there's enough happy hour to help people.
Right,
with that
yeah.
topic. Go ahead, Mike.
My name is Mike Schwerin. I am the web guy, tech guy, the geek here, I guess.
It's okay.
We're all geeks here. Let's be honest.
Well,
Yeah.
okay, well, the web geek, I guess. So
Yep, that's right.
I design websites. I don't develop them. I do design them and build them. I'm stuck somewhere between a developer and a designer. I also do a little video, kind of a jack of all trades. So.
Alright, I'm Ben Van Gelderen. I'm the legal geek. I'm part of the business squad. I focus my practice on helping small business owners deal with compliance and transactional and contract issues. My background is in healthcare law, so that's kind of where I got into dealing with regulations and compliance and that kind of stuff.
James Lewis, financial guru here at the Business Squad. So he deals with the buck and how to properly treat the buck, love the buck, nurture the buck, make the buck proud and strong. I can help you do that. And simply put, if you have an issue regarding planning, or if it's an issue of even debt or management of those things, or even risk management, I can help you both with your business and personally. And that's my job here at the squad.
Hi, and I'm John Schmansky, a member of the Business Squad and a member of Chick-Fil-A Financial and a proud member of the Business Squad, and I'm the benefits guy, and I wanted to avoid doing the 60-second commercial because of our topic and what we talked about. You know, the canned on the life, health, long-term care, disability insurance
Right.
advisor.
Yeah.
Boo.
Good job. Good job.
But
Somebody who read the material.
Yeah, good job.
but that's what I do, and that's where I help people. But I'm about making connections with people,
Good.
and not just networking.
Another
Yeah.
plug.
Interesting.
Woo!
Plugging in, yeah.
Well, apparently somebody did their homework. So as you guys know, for those who watch our show regularly, we have a few segments. And the first segment's the Pulse. And the idea behind this is to cover some current trends and topics and to see kind of what the pulse is for the small business owner, things they should be looking at, worried about. And this week we chose networking. And is it dead? Is it resurrected? Is it mutated? And one of the first articles actually we had that we went over was the 7 signs that networking may be dead in the traditional way that we've done it. So myself, being probably the most active networker here,
Definitely.
out of all of us, I would tell you that I am seeing the death of networking. And if you guys came here via the LinkedIn post that I sent out just recently, I made a mention of that. And I think that the trend, myself, I agree with a lot on the article where it goes over the different points, but I think the trend is such that eventually it will be dead, and what you're going to have then is just like meetup almost. It's just an event to gather with people that you may share like views with, and you just go to those things for that one-off event. Maybe it's once every couple months or every whatever. Like, all right, these are everybody that likes drumming, so all these guys who do drumming are going to go to this thing, and all these guys that like this are going to go to this thing and this thing and that thing. And you go and meet with like-minded people that you connect with, that you have a personal passion connection, and then your business is secondary to that. Or maybe it's you're all super hardcore business people, and that's your passion. You go and connect and talk about business, and that's it, right? But
I think most of the time, most of this stuff is some kind of hybrid in there. But that article specifically said networking, traditional networking versus sort of connecting. Right. So can you just kind of give everybody like a just quick and dirty difference between the two?
Sure.
So we're on the same page in terms of like what we're
absolutely
terminology.
Yeah. So in the article, they one of the things they're referencing is the fact that in the networking you go in and it's the business card blitz. I personally am against that, and I've been against that for the better part of a year and a half, maybe 2 years now. And that's it. I've got a pocket full of business cards, and I'm not going to leave a single one of them. And I'm going to collect one for everyone I give away. And they're going to come back and have 55 business cards that aren't worth a pile of shit.
Right.
Because I haven't connected with a single one because I've spent the 3 hours I'm in there, or 2 hours running around going, how you doing? How you doing? Hey, I sell something. I sell something. Right. Do you have something I can buy? There's something I can buy?
I think you hit the kind of nail on the head. I mean, the people that are doing that type of networking are very traditional sales oriented. So, if I were selling my business as a true salesman, cold calling, email marketing person, I would want to go out and hand out and get as many cards as possible. And then at the end of the day, I'm going to email blast everybody that I have to get. I mean, I don't build my business that way, personally.
Because you want to build a connection.
Well, sure, but some people do. I mean, I know other people in my other organization that absolutely sell that way and are successful. But
what is it that they sell?
Doesn't every networking group have a couple of different insurance guys? Isn't it the insurance guy the core of every networking group? Is that the group that I'm in? But I'm not.
I've been around. That's the same. You always have like these 3 or 4. If there's 15 people in the room, there's 3 or 4 insurance guys.
Yeah,
sure.
Right.
Yeah,
and
sometimes it's a different insurance guy type of insurance, but most of the time you have at least. The most common is the auto insurance. Seems like there's always like 2 auto insurance guys or girls in there, and then the rarity is the health insurance people. I think that seems to be an oddball. I ran into a couple over the years that I was a member of the chamber, but I very rarely would they show up to things. They were just kind of more on the downside, I guess. Back in the back office.
I'm the president of a chamber. And
really, what chamber is that?
The Dexter Chamber of Commerce.
Obviously. Dexter Chamber. I've heard that's a great
Dexter Chamber of Commerce. It is a great chamber. What I want to do and what I push to the businesses who join our chamber is that we're a community of businesses, and it's important to be active and form relationships between everyone who's in the area. Not just for networking for your business, but part of what the chamber does is also liaison between, your business and city government and other organizations. And, if we don't connect together and form, unified...
Come together.
Exactly. If we don't come together and form a unified voice, we can't interact with the city in the appropriate ways. Right. We can't help push planning in the appropriate way for our city as we grow and move forward. So it's not just about... cards, when we do our networking events. But it's about relationships.
But that's certainly the article. But that's the article's point, right?
Right.
They're saying, look, the whole thing of blitz is seen. Even if you're the guy selling the car insurance guy, that guy, aren't they not better off connecting with one person, getting a real connection, than going drive by with 70 people and getting 30 of them that might remember them when they might send an email and they might respond to get 3, and then those 3 of those, one might talk to them. Right. Whereas if he spent this time, Mike, you got 3 cars in a business? What kind of business is that? Awesome. Tell me about that. And he spends 30 minutes with them, and Mike goes, that guy was all right.
Yeah.
For a car insurance sales guy, it was pretty cool,
Yeah.
right?
I mean,
so,
well,
and,
insurance people
That's how I
are
met
people
you,
too.
James. I
Yeah,
mean,
that's
we
right.
met at a networking event, and
Yep.
you know, year
That's
and a half
great.
ago.
I guess
It's
that's
a
kind of
form
what my
relationships.
thought was as I was reading it. Is they're kind of like a chicken and the egg thing, right? I mean, how do you make connections
Right.
unless you
Go.
go to these
you
events
gotta kind of go to
and
something.
spend like a 30-second, hey,
You gotta
James
go
is a
to
cool
something.
guy. Let's have coffee afterwards. That's the connection. But
Right.
how do those come about without networking?
Well, and I think this type of stuff is the future of it going forward.
Yeah, I mean,
It's soft introduction this way.
Right.
This is what the speed networking used to do,
right.
right? So they watch, like you guys, you watch a show, you think, oh, James is pretty awesome.
Sure.
I want to let him look at my money.
Right.
And I say, awesome, come on in.
Yeah.
Right? And then we actually talk about the situation. Or I might say, maybe I'll look for him at an event. Like I might see him around in Brighton at
Right.
some jazz fest or something. Right? I'll look for him there and say, James, hey, I saw your
Well,
show.
what we have here is we're developing a real connection.
Sure.
You know what I mean? I mean
Sure.
a real connection. Where I guess BNI and LBN and the other ones all attempt to do, but you're kind of locked in. And isn't that an issue with them? I mean,
You only get one of each.
yeah, and
I mean-
and I'm supposed to give all my business or all my referral business to this guy that I don't know and like.
Oh, my
Right.
never.
Yeah.
You know,
You know,
I've
but
been
he
to
just
a
happens
couple of
to have
BNI
this-
meetings, and it's kind of crazy. You go around the room, and people are like forced to pass these referrals,
Sure.
and you call something, and it's like, I've never heard of you before. Why are you calling me? I don't even,
Yeah.
Well, and-
I mean, that's not the type of
That's
thing
not
that
the
I wanna
referral that I
do,
want,
That's
no.
for sure.
We want warm
They call
referrals.
that pitching wood from a movie.
Right.
you on
Floating
Bob
wood.
Ross.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that's right, pitching wood.
And I'm also I'm mildly tired of my 60-second commercial, and other
Yeah.
people's too.
I'm tired of mine.
Right?
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
I think that going into an event, you're always giving a similar or about the same type of 60-second
Yeah, it
commercial.
has to be.
It gets boring. I try to switch mine up, but I mean, you can't meet someone and get to know
Well,
them.
here's the
in
thing:
60
is one of the
seconds.
networking groups that I've gone to this last week, or actually it was today, and I didn't attend. Was speed networking was the idea. I just can imagine how that was. 5 minutes, go.
Right?
If that long,
Okay,
then-
catch you later.
I think I want to do business
So,
with
and
you.
it's,
Yeah.
one of the things is, though, with the whole speed networking stuff or any of those, and BNI, LBN, all of them, you gotta like the people anyway. So even if they can't make you get that person the lead.
Right.
Like,
Right.
one of the
that
things
kills
I
me
did in my past I
about
did
BNI
good for
meetings
people.
is when you go to a BNI meeting and they write on the board, we've done $450,000
Yeah.
worth of business.
Right.
this year. How do you quantify that? Like,
Does it
Bob,
say that, or does it say referrals?
right?
Because to
well,
me, $450,000.
No, how they did that
referrals is
is
bullshit.
somebody sold
Right.
the house.
I'd rather
Right.
do
Right.
$50,000 in hard business
Yeah.
than $450,000 in
Exactly.
referrals. Big deal.
Right.
No,
Referrals are
somebody
referrals.
sold the house, and they
Well, that's
Oh,
right.
yeah,
they
That's
gave
right.
yeah.
the listing of the house. you know.
Honestly, one of the groups I belong to, they
Yeah.
insisted to do that. And I'm like, you should put what was earned from it.
Right.
Right.
Because that's really what I'm looking at is something like,
Right.
oh, look, they generate that much revenue to the members of the group.
Right.
right.
Well, no, because it's your gross sales, and they all argue it. They all argue that because they want that beefed up, silly number.
Mhm.
And I'd rather
Yeah.
have a true number that says, well, this group generated $80,000. That's real. That means this group, within these people, they made $80,000.
Well,
Awesome.
I do think that groups like that. I mean, I'm a member. The only networking that I do, I'm not in chambers, nothing like that. But I am involved in CirrusNet, which is, I mean, he compares it to BNI. Their founder Steve Siskowski all the time. And what it does is it puts me in a room with there's I think 15 more people right now, and I get to know them. And now it's like, okay, I've got a handyman that I can talk to. And we sit down, we have a trust builder, and some of the people in my group I like, and I send them referrals. Some of the people I would not would not refer to,
Yeah.
right? And
So
there's
you gotta
no
know, like,
pressure.
and trust them.
Yeah, you gotta know, like, there's no pressure to send referrals. I mean, it's kind of informal. Like, I think at some point, if I was to never give anything,
Right.
at some point he would come to me and say, why are you here, right? But it's not like, it's not like the hard in, that, you've got to pass referrals to this group. It's locked in. It's everything. But it's an opportunity.
No, that's not.
to
The
make
BNI
that
is the
connection.
Nazis of
Right,
networking.
BNI is that.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, you have to. It's
So-
one of any kind of business, and that's it.
Yeah.
Done.
Well,
and you
and-
kind of. I mean, because the
Yeah.
idea of networking is you want to create this network of people that you can go to and refer to. Well, if you only have one person, what if they're too busy? What if that particular builder is too busy and has 20 houses lined up over there?
Sure.
And my friend of mine is asking, I need a builder. Do you know a builder? Well, I would like to give reference
Fred.
to somebody in my
Right.
group, but this guy's already said he's way too busy right now, so
Yeah.
I'm going to give it to somebody else. So to me, when you limit to one of anything, I think you're really hurting each other
Yeah.
instead of helping each other. I think if you could limit it to, say, depending on the size of the city,
Yeah, it always depends.
limit
on
it
the size.
to 4 or 5.
I think
of
that
them.
as a business person who's referring business to people, you have to have multiple people that you can refer to.
Sure.
Not everyone is a great fit for everyone.
Right.
I would hate to refer someone to someone and have them have a bad experience. Not just
It's a
because I
reflection
think
on
that
you.
person treated that
Right,
person
exactly.
badly, just because maybe they don't mix. You
Right.
know?
Exactly.
And
just
now
had
both
that
of them feel bad
Yeah.
about that situation.
Right.
But the topic was effective networking. Is it dead or and it was
Right.
it was networking or connecting, right? And I
Yeah.
really, and James touched on it. I really think that if anybody takes anything away from this conversation, which has just gone around, is that what's the key to successful networking is, I think, relax, right? Because I can get uptight,
Yeah,
going
I
into
can.
that situation.
Yeah.
Yes.
But totally relax, right?
Yeah.
And be in the present and be yourself, and don't try and collect a dozen business cards or set a
Right,
goal.
right.
Look around the room with somebody maybe you think you might know, like, and trust,
Sure.
and maybe be able to help and go into it and with that in mind. How can I help somebody?
Right.
Right.
And I think your success and your rewards from networking are going to be much
Yeah.
greater. So that's just
Yeah.
my opinion.
And something occurs to me, right? So James was sort of referencing earlier people that find us through LinkedIn, and like the idea that that's how it's going to be is you're not going to be looking on a room. You're going to be looking on LinkedIn, like,
Yeah.
hey, I want a handyman. Type in handyman on LinkedIn. See all these people that come in, and for me, when I first started, it was like, well, I gotta have my business page and my separate page. I don't want anybody to see my personal page or my
Right.
business page.
Yeah, I never did that.
And now I've kind of learned, yeah, you do that really well, right?
Yeah, I've never done it.
If somebody follows you, they know you, right?
They know
I
me.
do that too.
Yeah.
Like if you like my business page, you see things from my personal page, you see which sports teams I root for, the issues I
Sure.
care about. Sometimes
Yeah,
I'll
I
post some
just
music
keep
I
my
like.
dark side off the internet.
Right. Well,
That's
sure.
always a good thing to do.
Sure. Right.
Yes, the
it's
turtle
funny-
pools and pudding never make it.
right.
See, it's funny you bring up LinkedIn because it was a couple of weeks ago. James actually replied to this. I had posted something on my Facebook status about whether or not LinkedIn was really worth the time. Because in my opinion, I don't think it is. I think LinkedIn is a freaking joke because I have all these certifications on my abilities done by 90% of the people that never hired me to do any of that and don't know but yet they say,
Right.
oh yeah, I know Mike. He
Yeah,
said
yeah, that's
he
true.
said he can use Photoshop. Yeah, he's great with
Oh,
Photoshop.
that's kind of corny.
Yeah, that
So
piece.
I would
I
never-
would agree with that model. That, part
That
of the
needs to be
models.
gone.
Yeah,
and
I
that's
agree.
why I would never
I agree
go
with
on
that.
there and look for somebody for a specific skill set based on
Their
reviews,
endorsements.
based on their endorsements.
No, but I think it's a great what is it, like a resume, a bio, or whatever.
Sure.
You go on there,
Yeah.
you see somebody, and you can read through their summary, and that's the key. I think
Right.
is a well written summary that explains what they have to offer,
I can see there
and
are
then
some
and then
that-
some of their experience. But
Well,
You never hire somebody
again,
based on-
I'll chime in as probably the person with the biggest LinkedIn network here.
I'm sure.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm
How
sure
far
I
are
have
you
like
away from the
12
president?
people.
Yeah, that's right. One connection.
One connection.
Me and Barry. But
how about Donald?
I never checked actually. That's good.
All right, there we go.
But and it's funny you bring this all up, those social media and how businesses should use social media.
Right.
And you because that's our next segment or next
Right.
piece in the segment. And I would say with LinkedIn, one of the things you have the problem with though, where anybody can check that box. That's fine. Social networks are not actually done for that. It's read the person's personal opinions of stuff. That's part of it. Who do they know that I know?
Right.
So that I can get a back way in
Yeah.
validation of that
Right.
person.
Yeah.
So
An introduction.
And an introduction, if possible. If I'm selling, I want the introduction. If I'm being sold, or if I'm being sold by being out there to someone else, they're going to refer, use me as a reference or whatever, or reference me, whatever the case may be, right? Because I mean, for us as
I see LinkedIn as a
we
future.
we got an opportunity that came out of this. This is legit.
Yeah.
And it came actually a couple of them have come from
Oh, yeah.
LinkedIn, and then one from our video stream stuff. So,
Yeah.
And
I mean, stuff comes from it.
I've even had I've had several people that I know call me up and say, hey, I noticed that you're friends with, you're linked with this person on LinkedIn. How do you
Yeah,
know
it's
them?
huge.
I'm applying for a
Huge.
job there. I'm going to interview with them. What are they like? How can I tailor my interview to, best? I've had like 4 or 5 people contact me like that.
Yep. No, I think that's the biggest power for sure.
There's other uses too. I mean, so I've used that. For example, I wanted to get in touch with one of the partners I worked for in Chicago. I didn't have their email, and the firms had just switched. So I was like, "How do I get in touch with them?" I connected on LinkedIn, sent a LinkedIn message, and we were able to connect to a past reference that otherwise would have been lost. And the other thing is, sometimes when I've got a client come in and I'm like, "Well, who should I contact for you?" They're like, "Well, his name's Mike. I don't know what he does or who he is." And I'm just like, "All right, let's hop over to LinkedIn, log out of my account, grab an anonymous one, and let's look up this Mike guy and see what his job is, where he is on the totem pole."
I never thought of going on anonymously to
Hunt
do.
people.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, you must
That's
have-
where you get those anonymous
Yeah.
notes on your.
I don't-
Stalker
I don't
101.
Yeah.
Well, I'm careful not to
There's
stalk.
a course there's a course on lynda.com about
Yeah. Sure. Well, there's nothing wrong with it. I mean,
No,
even
whatever.
if you weren't, even if you
Is that
weren't
why I
doing
have
a
so many
profile.
anonymous views
yeah,
from
like, you
people?
get
Yeah,
Yeah.
you might be in trouble. No, but see, it's interesting. That's what Max Blackwell, who was here a couple weeks ago,
Yeah.
he was here a couple weeks ago and talking about cybersecurity, and he kind of talked about how he sometimes uses LinkedIn to get the
Particulars for emails.
particulars
things
for
like that.
emails, that kind of stuff.
Yep.
And the name he uses for anonymity is not something I can repeat even on this channel. So that's it.
Well, and then that's fine. And I think. Oh, go ahead.
Well, that brings up another
Wow.
topic on it is, which means that any information you put on there. So I think people sometimes get a little bit trusting with LinkedIn because it's a business related thing. All that information is still on the net for anybody that just creates a bogus account to get on there. So
exactly
people
right.
still need to watch what they're doing and what they're putting on there.
Well, and I think
And
LinkedIn
it
has
could
its
be a
design.
source. It could be a source of a lot of some people pick up emails and just sell them and create email lists. I mean,
Sure.
it could be a source of a lot of spam that people get because
It-
their emails are there.
There's
Filters
a
are getting better all the time, though. I don't know. I tend to, when I block something,
that's a good
they
point.
change the email address and they send it again. But finally you catch up. But
And my
So there's a
spam
girl I
filter
know
even
that's in
catches my
Savage Marketing.
reminders
Yeah,
nowadays. My spam people catches my own reminders that pop
Right.
that come through to me.
Well,
I'm like,
that's
I needed that.
All I have is get email every time. Like one of my customers is e-commerce. They get emails from their own website, from their own email server of a new sale, and it gets plopped into the spam folder.
Flagged.
Well, I
I
was
end
gonna
up
say,
going
And it's like it's
Yeah.
even whitelisted.
Yeah.
Like, okay, thanks, Outlook.
the email conversation you're having, one of the things is that it's become such an overused thing that people ignore it, right? And they're talking about that the phone calls actually have come back around in style.
Right.
Yes.
And that's more
Because
concern
people
with
aren't
emails.
doing that, right?
they're like, oh my god, a phone call.
So when you're
Somebody
talking
called me.
about leaving your email out in cyberspace, it's already like that
Yeah,
threat of that's already happened
Yeah,
and it's
right.
done, and now people are numb to
Yes.
emails, and emails the passe thing, and now it's back to
How
was
can
more
you
of
not
a-
be numb to emails? I get
Yeah.
about 1,000 emails a day. I'm
see,
like,
yeah, right, yeah.
One of the
I mean,
big
That was more of an
pieces
example, but
Yeah.
No, but I
phone
mean, I'm
number,
just saying, yeah.
anything you put on there is exposed.
Oh,
It's not- so
absolutely.
don't,
Oh, yeah,
don't
absolutely.
wonder where
Right.
these weird calls are coming
Absolutely.
from, because if your phone number is on, amazes me how
Right.
many people put their phone number on their Facebook profile
Yeah.
or LinkedIn, whatever.
So what
it
if I
is.
do?
It's. I mean, if it's a business line, I mean, sure,
Yeah.
it makes sense. But I see people's personal cell phones on
Yeah.
Facebook.
Well, that's
Are you
kind of
crazy?
annoying. You're getting all these ads on your phone.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, let's take it back around though, because we sort of talked about how phone calls is like a really good way to stand out. And when you're networking, and you've got all these people, you've got 50 business cards, right? And you're never gonna look at them. What's the way to get your business card taken out, right? Emails are not working as well, right?
Right.
After a networking event, you
Same.
send out emails to everybody. They don't even, nobody even notices.
Doesn't register.
Phone calls, it's a different story, right? It depends on the business. And I actually,
Text people?
well, I don't know about texting.
What about it?
Because you don't know if they receive it or not. But
Yeah,
actually,
cell phone.
let's go back about 50 years, right? Because the best advice that everybody gave me in career services at Loyola was send handwritten thank you notes.
Yeah.
That makes you stand out.
Yeah.
And I got a handwritten thank you note from the State Bank in Fenton, who you can Google them. I am very happy with them. And I got a handwritten thank you letter from a bank that said thank you for your business. They have to screw up pretty bad for me to go someplace else.
Yeah, Renee,
You know,
Renee's
that's-
our
that's
wife,
really
same deal, her
interesting.
business. Her business, same deal. She did State Bank and same kind of deal. She liked
Yeah.
the personal touch. That
It's
they
awesome.
I actually used to bank at State Bank years ago. They were
Yeah.
originally, I think they were based out of
Handwritten thank yous. That's so.
I
old
have a
school.
box of thank you in my office, and I
too.
rarely actually write them, but I
Right.
need to write more of them.
Yeah.
Apparently.
Yeah.
So
I don't get
It costs
excited
you
when I get
85 cents to mail it. And
Right.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, but handwritten because you got constant contact or whatever.
But that's the whole point.
That's
Let that
so
go.
not real.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And people see that right
Yeah.
through it. You know.
Yeah, nobody gets excited to get an email anymore.
No.
Right.
But
So,
when
yeah,
I walk into my
another
office
email.
and there's a letter, like,
And it's
I'm
not
like,
from a
this
court.
is cool. Yeah, and it's not from a court.
Yeah, it's not from a court.
Well, it takes a
Go
minute
from
to process
DirecTV.
it. You got to
Yeah.
open it, you read it,
Yeah.
you go, and you don't want to throw it away. You don't say,
No.
oh,
Yeah.
you know, I can't just
Yeah.
set it over here and look at it for 3 days.
You know,
Yeah.
And then throw it away.
yeah,
this is
but
a cool
still,
thing.
Sure, it's still.
I actually got at my office a
Suggestion.
letter the
Yeah.
other day from Midland. I was like, what is this? And I opened it up, and it was a fourth grader who was doing a project for their class.
No
And he
way.
wrote us at the chamber and was like, I'm doing a project about cities for my class, and I drew Dexter. Can you send us some information about your
Wow.
city? And I'm like,
hell
this is
yeah.
cool, man.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
there's a kid younger than 10 who knows how to write and mail
Yeah.
a letter to someone. That's awesome.
Remember when we
Like,
were all kids? I don't know, I'm not sure what your age. You seem a little bit younger than the rest of us. But
Yeah.
remember when we used to do pen pals at school?
Yeah,
I
yeah.
had a pet
Did you?
pal.
Okay. But
We
was
went
it
to
even-
Catholic
but-
school though, so.
Right, so it was 20 years in this past.
Yeah.
Email them,
No, I didn't. You know.
though?
But it's
Email
funny.
some kid in the third world and he's sitting in a coffee shop. Checking out.
Yeah,
No.
the only classes I ever failed was handwriting in elementary school. I
That's
didn't.
I still think that
It was
was the
awful.
dumbest class to ever have as a handwriting class.
Well,
Why?
that
You know what? I really wish that they would have taught cursive to my
Teaching
kids.
is one thing. Teaching is
my
one
daughter
thing, but
learned
to
it, my
grade
son
it-
didn't.
But to grade it, I don't know. I just like.
Yeah,
It's one thing to teach it, but it's one of those things. Some people, I have terrible handwriting. It doesn't matter how much I try
Yeah.
and be neat. I have terrible handwriting.
Yeah.
It's something that a lot of people really don't have control over. Like
It's
how
almost like
you're
art.
grading. It's like grading somebody how big their feet are.
I don't know
like, you
about
don't have
that. I
control
think
over-
it's a learnable skill.
It
I mean,
just-
you
All
can,
right.
whether they form the letter properly, okay. But
Okay, we've gone off
yeah,
track.
we've gone.
We've gone off track.
Now we're on to.
Yeah, we're off
Yeah,
track.
that's-
Call
that's
an
good.
audible,
That's
stop.
good.
All right, sorry.
So the other, one of the other articles was talking about the case for networked consulting. And basically they're speaking to what we're doing as a
Yeah.
business. The business squad itself. The whole
Yeah.
scalability
Yeah.
and it's on-demand service,
Sure.
basically.
Right.
And so one of the things I think is really
That's
going
kind of
forward.
neat.
Yeah, going forward, I believe that is the case for business as a whole across the globe.
Service.
Well, it's any form of business, even manufacturing, will still be network style consulting being done. You'll just do that piece. That piece will get sent to not that far anymore because as the actual manufacturing process keeps changing. So let's stick
Right.
with service for the conversation. But even manufacturing will be affected the same way
Okay.
because they do it now. You go.
Well, I'm just relating it to
across.
what we do. I mean,
Yeah, so
we're
the
business
cross, right?
services.
So how does the money flow in a situation like that? When I was sort of reading that article, I was
Yep.
just kind of like, okay, how does the money flow, right? So for us, it's a little bit different, right? You guys do the benefits, you get part of the benefits, right?
Right,
The
right.
same thing with payable. You and I, we got to say, all right, this is how much work it's gonna. This is how much work it's gonna be. This is what it costs.
Right.
Charge us. It's easy for you. For me, I'm making stuff up out of nowhere because no attorney just says, here's a flat fee. And if I charge my hourly rate, it's like, well, they'll just do it themselves. So it's difficult.
Well,
So I just wonder-
we're a loosely knit, but more than
Right.
loosely knit group of professionals. So our relationship with the client is all each individual. So they get us, as a need be
But
kind
this is
of
more
a thing.
formal, if I'm not mistaken, right? So how does the money flow like that?
Probably, I didn't see the article obviously, but probably some sort of a entry fee to, if they're throwing an event geared towards a specific group of people, there's probably some sort of a presidential fundraiser dinner. You got to pay a ticket price to get into the event. Maybe I would assume.
or consulting fee
Or a
or something.
consulting
But
fee.
Right.
but we choose to be, you know, a free consultation to our
Right.
our
Sure.
client base, and then they can decide, you know, what services they want to embrace at the time. And as the relationship grows with us as individuals, it grows as a group, and
Right.
you know that's the idea. But
See, that's kind of where I'm at. You know, whereas the difference is with an attorney, your whole business is consultation. I mean, that's your entire business. Where for
Right.
somebody like me, my product is whether it be a website or, you know, helping people pick out their computer that they need for
Right.
this particular thing. But that's I can charge. Say, okay, I'm gonna
Sure.
charge you $100 to help you pick out a
you
computer.
have a retainer model, don't you?
Yeah, I mean, I give people, you know, I actually find that I try and charge by the product, right? So I'll charge by, all right, we're going to come up with a contract. That's what you're getting,
Right.
and that's the flat fee.
For the
So,
end product.
For the end product, and then we don't have to talk back and forth, and I know how much it takes to make a contract, all that kind of stuff. But I guess what I was kind of getting at is, we talked earlier about how we don't like the fact that B&I, you're locked in, you got to refer within that group, you got to do all that other stuff. This is almost, you know, you've got that money, you're paying flat consulting fee. Is it really like a networking type of thing?
Well, and so in the article, you know, they're referencing life sciences, particularly in this article,
Mhm.
and how that they're doing a network consulting base for passing knowledge. But it's the same process, right?
Yeah,
so it's
right.
my end product is this. So my end product, like in the case of the business squad, is a healthy, viable business where the entrepreneur can say hands off on everything that's
Right.
not
I'm free to
essential
do my
my
business.
right, not essential to my business.
Right.
How do I get there? Well, you could, as the entrepreneur, be the central spoke to multiple relationships, shop each one,
Right.
right? Or you get something like our model where we've done that networking process
Right.
together. We've networked ourselves into a cohesive unit, and you just have to hitch your wagon to our train, right?
Right.
Yeah, I'm in. Line me up. Woo, and we're running.
Right.
And I mean,
Right.
to be honest, there's a variety of different types of pricing models you could kind of push
Sure.
to that end.
Sure, you could.
You don't
absolutely.
really have to. I mean,
I don't
you
think you
can
need
a
a
la
hard,
carte. You
fast
can.
one.
I mean, you can do a
Right.
base retainer and then a la carte services.
Sure.
You know, there's
Sure.
all sorts of different pricing models that
Right.
you can throw at something like that.
That, what you're describing is almost sounds to me like that's more geared towards a large corporation versus somebody like what this group is targeting. That's a 30 employee or less.
No,
And it's-
because
obviously-
they have the same needs. It's
well,
just
they
scale.
have the same needs, but I think it's
Scale.
the idea of a like what he's talking about. You know, where's the money come from that consulted networking? Somewhere there's money coming from somewhere. So
Sure.
if it's GM that's consulting, you know,
Right.
hiring this consulting network, it's a lot different than you know, mom and pop's grocery store across the
Well,
street.
all businesses
that's
have
hiring-
administrative
Yeah,
costs.
That's
there's
right.
always administrative costs, but I think, but what I mean is something like this group is going to be more beneficial to the local mom and pop type business than
So you're getting to like the question we have all the time about, you know, where's our application of
Right.
scale? Like where do we
Right.
fit, right? So there is versions of our business model, all sides of business.
right.
Yeah.
So there's Tryon. Tryon only takes on companies of 2,500 employees and up,
Yeah.
right? But they do the same stuff.
Right.
Oh, I don't
Yeah.
think that's true. I think that
Well, I get they may accept whoever, but that's why I've been told they market to from
Yeah.
the Paycor dude. That's what he told me. Paycor boy that we met, whose name I don't remember, dude. Sorry if you're
Okay.
watching. Paycor guy. Because, you know, whatever.
Yeah.
Anyway, and he's the one that it said at that space. And then you got stuff like ADP, and ADP works to market to 250 person sized companies and up. But same solution model. So this model applies all the way up. We're just working the entrepreneur space because we're passionate about that
Right.
1 person to 100 person company, and we know that there's actually less service there, right? That they're not getting this, and they're scrambling to try to do all of it and still grow their business, and realizing, well, I've only got 100 hours of the week I can
Right.
work, and I'd rather use all 100 to make revenue, and not work on a farm for 40 of them.
Right. Yeah.
Oh, zinger! And you know, we had a client in, but that's later in the show.
100 hours
I'll bring that up,
24 times
but-
7 is more than 100.
Yeah, pretty well. You gotta sleep. I'm assuming you're sleeping. Sleeping, you have family
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
commitments. and
Hey,
things like
you
that,
gotta
right?
get rest. You gotta
Right.
get you gotta get off time.
You also
be
have to have a
productive.
good work-life balance. In
Yeah.
it.
You do.
Exactly.
Well, I guess
So-
what I'm
so-
saying though is in our model, right? Somebody can still come in and be like, "All right, James, help me with my numbers," but you
Sure.
know what? I don't like Ben. I don't want you to be my lawyer. I have my
Him
own.
and his bow tie can walk.
Sure, right? So they say that.
I like your bow tie.
And that's totally fine.
I
Thanks, John.
do.
I
Yeah,
appreciate
think
that.
it's classy.
But like in those bigger models, like these Paycor models, right?
Right.
They just
Yeah.
do accounting. You don't care what your accountant really is like.
No,
When
no.
you get to that scale,
No, it's numbers.
it's about the numbers.
Complete
They
number
don't care.
efficiency.
They don't care about the relationship.
No, they don't. No,
And
no.
so I just wonder if there's ever going to be a time when it becomes that connected, that consolidated, at a level where they care about the relationships. You know
I
what
think
mean?
I
That's
think
kinda
it's
what
driven from like put this like the best way to think of it is two parents merging households versus everybody in the households having to get along.
Right.
Yeah.
Right? So like if one parent's got 4 kids, one's got 4 kids, and both parents get married, and like, well, you 8 kids are gonna work it out. I don't give a shit. We're married.
Right.
Right.
Right?
Right.
That's the big scale companies, right?
Right.
Versus where the level we're at, we all get along. We've already made that agreement.
Sure.
So when we marry to a company to help them, they're gonna like, oh, we get the whole house. We gotta kind of, we can like some of the kids or not.
Right. But you
We're all gonna like
yeah.
each other, but you don't have to like all the kids in the house,
Right.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't like him. I like him.
Yeah.
Ellen, well, she's like, just changing all our light bulbs, and we see the world different.
Exactly. Yeah.
Shout out to Ellen who's not
But
here.
it isn't.
Sorry,
But
get
I just
better.
want to be clear. It's not an all or none
No.
proposition with
Not
this.
that's-
now.
well, that's
no,
the
no, no,
point.
no. But
That's
that's
the
the thing.
point.
We offer services like Ellen's, where she's a
Right.
business coach. And a
Right.
business coach is about a lot more than money.
That's right.
Sure.
So
Yeah.
You've got to know that is a place where you have to find somebody, connect with them, and go forward.
Mhm.
So there's always going to be that need, I think.
No, I think so, and I agree with that. Anyway, I agree. So that being said, that was one of the other articles we had to cover today, and then our next segment. I mean, there's another one that was in there, but I'm going to skip it. I'm going to skip it in the name of time. I'm going to skip it, and our next segment was actually we talk about the goods and bads. So companies that carried the ball this last week, or they totally woofed and missed it, and crash and burn and misery everywhere and death and chaos and all that good stuff. So the hurrah this week, or the shout out, goes to KFC for KFC taking and running ahead of what
Yeah.
the law may dictate a behavior has to be, and going with making sure
Eventually,
they
yeah.
right, but making sure that they're treating everybody right based on what is perceived or what would be market driven or whatever, they feel is
It's
right.
discrimination is what it is. Period.
Well,
Worrying,
right.
worrying
Well,
more about somebody's job performance than their sexual identity.
Sure.
Well, that's
I think that's what it was.
And I think Chick-Fil-A can learn a lot.
Well,
about
I was about to say
Ah,
that. Did
slam it,
KFC
Chick-fil-A.
drop the mic on
They did.
KFC this week?
Boom! What's
Yeah.
up?
Chick-fil-A this week?
Don't mess with the Colonel.
Ah.
The Colonel's got it. Keep walking. Chick-fil-A. Full of flies.
Here comes that Chick-fil-A argument.
Yeah, right. And Chick-fil-A is like, we got the right to not serve gays, and we don't want it. Well,
Right.
whatever, Chick-fil-A. And KFC's like, hey, it's all good. We got love.
Yeah.
And the same thing with Disney. Disney did the same deal. They ran way ahead by giving rights to gay couples to say,
Yeah.
okay,
Yeah.
we're going to treat you as partners. You get the same rights for the healthcare as any other married couple we
Yeah.
have in here. Go forward. Next thing you know, oh my gosh, the rainbow found Disney, and then loyal workers to
Yeah.
the cows came home,
Yeah.
and and everybody's happy. And they
Yeah.
said an example is a huge media organization of trends. I myself personally believe that it is nobody's business what the sexual orientation is. I show up to do the job. I do my job as well as any other person. End of discussion.
Right.
I don't do my job.
Well,
We got problems.
Yeah, I mean, it only
Yeah.
becomes an issue when you're dealing with benefits, because if I'm up until
John.
up until the legalization of gay marriage thing,
Yeah.
it wasn't they would gay people didn't have the option to be married, so how were they going
Right.
to get benefits
Right,
for
why
their
not?
partner? So that's what the issue was then.
Right.
Now that's less of an issue, so it only really becomes an issue of why somebody needs to know that because of that particular situation.
Well, but even
a job
still, when
place,
you
but-
have transgender issues, you get into issues about what's covered and what's not in terms of
Right.
reconstructive surgery,
Right. Yeah.
complications, all this other stuff. And I think it's good that.
Because they're elective.
But
they
it
they
should
could
be-
be argued that they're elective.
Well,
Let's put
is
that
it
way.
really? But
I mean, that's an
it
argument.
could be. It's a good argument.
But wait a
Both
minute,
ways
it's
of
not
what I
elective
thought.
because the government has told us that it is mandatory. So I would go forward to any company say it is no longer elective. Your own government in the United States said that healthcare is a mandatory issue.
Take the government
Right.
out of
Healthcare is a
No,
mandatory
not-
issue,
not-
but
No,
not
we're not talking about
necessarily
healthcare. We're talking
gender
about
transfer.
procedure within
No,
healthcare.
procedure
Sure.
within
I think we're
healthcare.
missing it. Like a transgender operation. it doesn't have to be necessarily covered in healthcare because it could be considered an elective.
Well, I mean,
surgery.
to a certain extent,
You know what I'm
it
saying?
is because the argument then becomes, if a woman has A cup breasts, and so my mental stability
right?
is not stable because I need double D's, so you have to pay for my
Yeah.
breast enhancement surgery. I mean, you do cross into a line.
Yeah.
I'm all for equal rights, but there has to be. Then you're talking equal rights across the board because then a straight woman who wants bigger boobs has
Well,
to
I
be
think-
treated the
Sure.
same as
And I think
someone
what's-
who's transgender wanting a sex change.
Right. I think what's really good about this is that KFC said, we don't care what we have to do. We don't care what we're regulated to do.
Mm-hmm.
They didn't
Society
discriminate
as a whole-
against a
society
person
as
as
a
a
whole
person.
has said that this is not okay to do, and we're going to take a hard line. We're going to bring them back. We're going to fire the guy that did it. We're going to move forward. And I think that's great when businesses do that and decide
Yeah, I agree.
to be on the front end of the curve and say,
Yep.
this is what, I don't care what the government says. I don't care what,
Well, they
regulations
fired
say.
the
That's
manager
the
because
whole-
he handled it poorly.
I don't care
you
what
know,
Westboro
think-
Baptist says either. You know.
Sure. Well,
Well,
they just
I, as
It's
a
a libertarian
libertarian, it
argument.
makes me proud when I see that.
Well, I was just
happen
gonna say
because
that it's a libertarian argument. You
It's-
as a libertarian would hope that
That's
A,
correct.
the market regulates
Self-regulates.
self-regulates industry, and those businesses that are socially conscious. And from a socialism standpoint, we would say that
Socially conscious
you really
businesses.
can't trust any corporation to be socially conscious. So let's put a little regulation in there. I mean, but it's good that
Yeah,
there are
it's good.
businesses out there that are
Well, and
self-regulating.
I am of the adage that if there's not unfair application of law against a business for its own sufficient means of profit will become conscious to the needs of the market. So they'll pay attention.
Well, the
Like,
marketplace.
that's
will-
right.
will
If
function,
it's not cool to treat this person this way,
so like you say, Chick-Fil-A, I'm
That's
sure
right.
suffers.
they do.
That's
suffer.
the question: is whether or not that's what we need to do. Is
You know,
look
I
at
would
Chick-fil-A
say
and
that
KFC.
there's a
I don't think
probably
they do
there's
so.
probably
No,
a
they don't. Chick-fil-A does
there's
They
probably
make
a
it go
correlation to the
policy,
fact that
It's a
Yeah.
different thing.
the,
of their whole,
the majority of Chick-fil-A's are located in southern states, and
you don't say there's something about the
you
South.
don't see Chick-fil-A's in the Midwest or the North very often, do you?
Yes,
let me
there's
give you an
one in
example.
Oakland University.
There's one.
There's a
I think
Chick-fil-A
there's
in
one.
downtown
Yeah.
Chicago,
Yeah, there is
right
now.
next to the Loyola University Chicago Law School, which is a very liberal law school. All these issues, they wanted to kick him out of the property, they wanted to shut him down, they wanted to do all this stuff.
And they
And
ate a sandwich.
eventually, Chick-fil-A is packed every single day.
Yeah, they ate a sandwich.
Well,
There's
sure.
other ways to-
Yeah.
It's the crab
So
chicken
it's just-
sandwich.
There's never been the thing is there's
Except
never
for
been an
some.
incident that I'm aware of.
Except for
There's
some.
been many incidents where individual Chick-fil-A restaurants have never discriminated and said you're gay, you can't eat here. The only thing that was ever said was the CEO, who happens to own all the stock.
Right.
This isn't a public corporation. This is a
Right. It's
private
his. Yeah,
corporation.
it's his place. Yeah, it's
He can
his.
say whatever he wants to.
Yeah, it's true. I
It's
agree
not.
with
This
that.
isn't like General Motors saying we don't like gay people.
Right.
No,
Yeah,
This
I
is
get
it's a
it.
totally
that's
different
true.
scenario. This is a private
I'm
person,
not saying it's not.
private company that's
Or-
owned. All stock is owned by
Yeah.
a single person, saying that he's not going to donate money to these organizations. Doesn't want to pay
Yeah.
for it.
No, it's
He's
a good
allowed
point.
to have that opinion, and then people at that point regulate.
They took it and they turned on him.
They turn it on him, and I don't agree with what he's saying, but he's entitled to his opinion.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and I don't
agree,
and,
absolutely.
and I don't necessarily agree that he should be, a victim of their hate or whatever because
But they're
because he
they're
just
entitled
chose
to
not
hate
to
whatever
support
they want
them.
to hate.
Yeah.
Though. I mean, that's
That's
what it
correct.
comes
I
down
get
to.
it.
Yeah.
It works both ways. You can boycott Chick-fil-A if you don't like the
Delicious
CEO's
chicken sandwich.
Yeah.
Right.
Sure.
If you don't like the CEO stand on
Sure.
gay people, you can not go to Chick-fil-A. That's your right. But don't force them. They shouldn't be forced out of business just because of that.
I wholeheartedly agree with that. But that's what I'm saying, the unfair application of law, right? That's using law like a level heavy hand to force behavior. Like the whole cake thing and all that stuff, right?
Oh.
These right, all of that aspects.
My
Same
question is,
stuff.
why would you want to go if you know that this cake maker
Right.
doesn't want to make your cake for a gay wedding?
Right?
Why do you want to give them your money?
Yeah,
There's
exactly
there's
right.
10,000
Wow.
more cake makers that
Yeah.
would love to make your cake.
Let's take a step back to the Chick-fil-A KFC thing because I think you did bring up
Yeah.
a good point. There's a difference between saying I'm not giving money to gay people, or just saying I don't like gay people, and saying
Or I don't support, or
or
I don't.
whatever you want to say,
Yeah.
and saying you're fired because you're gay.
Right.
And I do think if Chick-Fil-A said you're fired because you're gay,
Oh, they'd be fried.
Then
then,
I would.
and assuming the government doesn't get
Sure.
them, which they maybe could, then I think there'd be a lot more people that would say that's enough where I'm not going to Chick-Fil-A.
I hate to go
Then
I
they're
really
doing it.
bad with this, but to be honest with you, we can't say that, Chick-fil-A saying, I don't want to serve gay people or anything like that.
Did he say
If
that?
Chick-
though?
no,
I-
not
no,
necessarily,
no.
but if there, or the cake maker, okay? If the cake
Cake
maker
maker
were to
very
sit there
specifically
and
said
say,
they're not making gay
Right.
cakes.
I'm not
Gay
making
cakes.
cake for any
Gay
African Americans,
Right.
there would be a gigantic issue with that.
And the place would be like they not to use it, but they burn the
I mean,
stupid place down.
right.
But-
But I'm just saying, so it's a very similar thing. You can say, I'm a gay person, I shouldn't want to eat there, but by the same token, there's a social issue to that. I mean,
But if
you
it's
can't say that.
My issue really comes down to, though, if it's an individual business that is privately owned and doesn't have stockholders that are, why can we tell them that they have to? It doesn't mean that they're right in their opinion. It doesn't mean that they're right not wanting to serve gay people, but they should be entitled to that
The
opinion.
libertarian paradox has
Okay.
been released in this
Right.
room.
But,
It's
and
awesome.
I'm a
Because it's
liberal
not an
social
only-
democrat, so I'm going to say
It's
you
not
know,
a
there has to be some sort of
They're
level
not the
of.
only cake maker in town, though.
But you
if
can't-
that cake maker was
You can't
government
discriminate
owned,
against people.
no.
Okay, but you also, it's really, really hard to show that someone did.
Well, that's
Sure.
that
So
means,
I'm
blatant
not
cake
saying. I'm
maker.
not,
but see,
I
here's
agree
the
with that,
here's the
but-
problem with that. Because now take out something like race, take out something like your sexual
Fat
thing.
people. They don't want to serve fat people cake.
I don't.
You're
you
too
know,
fat.
okay,
Okay,
so
that means
if
I've
airlines
turned
make
down-
fat people buy 2 seats on a plane, I would argue
Well, there you go.
that's
Southwestern
discrimination
got
as
the
well.
same thing.
I have turned down
Southwestern
business.
does the
I
same
have
thing.
refused to deal with people and make their website because they're idiots.
There's a
By
total
this-
difference from you.
No,
You
there's
should
not.
be able
No,
to
there
say,
isn't.
I don't want to make you a cake, and as long as you're not saying, I'm not
Because you're
making
an
you a
idiot?
cake because you're a gay person, that's totally fine.
But somebody comes. I wanted to say,
So you're okay with
congratulations,
secret hate?
Mike
No,
and Mark.
you can't
stop.
I'm just
Yeah,
you
you
can't
can't be right, but
you
he's
can't
like,
do that.
you know,
But I mean,
he's
you
a secret
can't
agent.
go. I can't go out on the street and say, I can't go out to a business person and say, I'm not going to service your payroll because you're Native American or African American. I can't do that. That's not. I could say, I'm not going to service your business because I'm not comfortable with the type of business that you do.
But we don't know what
but-
started it. The person could have said, "I'm not comfortable." I don't think we're.
It was based off a religious argument. That
Well,
was
it
the
was.
whole
I
based
know,
off.
but I mean,
That
how
was
did,
the whole
but how
thing.
did it start?
They're
Somebody
like,
comes
yeah.
in and says, "I want the cake to say these 2 male names or these 2 female
Right,
names."
Bob and Fred.
And
yep.
person behind the counter says, "I don't think that our business is compatible with each other. I would like you to go somewhere else." It could have started like that. I don't know. I'm just throwing a scenario out there. It could have been started as simple as, "I don't think our business is something that's compatible. So I think you should go down the street to Fred's and have him make your cake." And then the person keeps pushing, "But I want you to make my cake, but I want you to make my cake." And I said, "I'm sorry, my religious beliefs don't support this. I can't make your cake." So why is that wrong? And believe me, I'm not adhered to any religion at all. Another conversation my daughter and I had. I don't believe in religion as a thing. I don't believe in the crap that they feed people.
Okay.
But here's the thing: why can I not, as a human being, say I am not okay doing this? That's like me serving a pedophile. If I don't want to serve a pedophile, why should I be forced to serve a pedophile? Although they're not on the same level of, one being wrong and one not being wrong, but I should be able to make that choice. If I can't make that choice for this particular type, then you can't be forced to make your choice on this particular type, because then it's not equal adhesion of the law, equal application.
So I
of the
think
law.
what we really said is there's a lot of gray area in this area,
Yeah.
and there's
I don't think we're gonna
good
solve
credit
it today.
for
No, we can't
No.
solve
I
it.
think good credit to KFC for
That's
being
right.
That's all this was.
being
This
out
is
of
a
the-
super good credit
And
to
we've also
KFC.
done our hisses.
We
because
agree with that.
So
So we
Well,
his
society
Chick-fil-A.
society has feelings about things.
They sure
Good
do.
for
Boo
KFC
cake maker.
for being on the pulse and ahead of it.
And I feel sorry for the cake maker. Why you got dragged into this? I don't know.
Well, and it's all because it all ties together that
It does.
there's a mindset that's changing, and
Yeah.
the old guard says no, it can't change. This is the way it's been, and
Right.
damn it, blacks should not be allowed to get married to white people, and we're gonna make sure the government regulates marriage, and that's going to be the way it's going to work.
Please take all that in context. You know.
Well, no, but it's true.
Somebody's gonna
That's
cut
how
that
marriage.
piece.
That's
Yeah.
I get
They're
it.
gonna cut that out.
You know what they do?
Don't run for office.
Have
James.
at it. Have at it.
Guy.
Really have at it. But the fact is, that's how the marriage regulation came to be. That's how the
That's
federal
another
government.
kudos.
Right, and that's the
Arkansas?
federal government came in for that whole purpose, right? Got involved, said, well, we'll help figure that out. Well, now you fast forward 20 years or 100 years or however long it's been that they passed that stupid law and got involved in marriage. And now you're where you are today where two consenting adults, be the guy and guy, girl, whatever, they want to get married and the government says, well, no, because those guys sitting on top said boo, boo, boo. And it's the same thing with this. This is the same change. It's a wave of change. And I would tell you, those of you that object to it, there's a book called Who Moved My Cheese? Start reading it. Tattoo every word to the internal storage space in your brain, because that's the last thing that's a constant is change. That being said, speaking about awesome change, I'm going to tag into the next hurrah. Car that gets 84 miles a gallon. Can you just say awesome? And
Yeah.
made in America.
Yeah, I saw that.
Yeah.
And made in Louisiana.
Sweet.
Couldn't they
Yeah.
just give it 4 tires?
No, I think it's
No,
cool. It
because
feels like you're like in a
one less tire
pilot seat
reduces
or
friction on
something.
the road and increases
You know?
gas mileage.
You got your co-pilot behind you.
So I was recently in an accident in a very small Ford car, and I did not hit them very hard,
Right.
and it was not a good accident. So I just shuddered to think of what that little 3-wheel car would do on the
You made
highway.
it 95 miles an hour. And
Yeah,
you,
95 miles an hour.
And
They're
you
right
hit
into my
yourself.
30-year-old Jeep Cherokee
Yeah,
now.
right,
Like,
yeah, right.
like-
You won't notice. And then when the person slides
Exactly.
underneath your car forward.
Right.
Yeah. Well,
that's the only
the argument
reason.
is that that particular car, because I've been following that car for a while, and they've had their challenges on getting themselves up to funding where they are now. But one of the things that's really cool is that whole compartment. Do you guys remember Demolition Man, where it had like it filled full of foam?
Yeah.
All right, they've got airbags all the way around, and it's all reinforced roll cage. So you get hit in an
It's supposed to
accident,
be,
all
yeah.
the crap would rip
Yes.
off, and you just basically be this
Rolling ball.
Right.
rolling container, and you're airbagged. So mind you, you'd probably be pretty bruised and very
Yeah.
sick, because you
Yeah.
probably would have harked up whatever you had for lunch on yourself.
But
if
I
not
guess it
crapped your
won't. It
pants.
won't collapse.
But you
in
would-
one.
right.
No, not unless
Look
the
up-
Jeep Cherokee falls on top of it and you're flat.
It's still, but it's still the cage because it's the same thing. Those little smart cars,
Yeah.
Yeah.
which aren't very smart by the way. They don't get very good gas mileage for the size. But anyway, they look up, do a YouTube search. They run one of those into a cement wall at like 70 miles an hour. And because my thought always was that thing is so small,
He's gonna-
it's just gonna crumple.
Right, but
Yeah.
it's built.
But
It's
the
built,
cage-
the roll cage is built to
The
withstand
cockpit, if you want to call it the cockpit, is built as this cage around it. So when they ran that thing into the wall, the person, the test dummy inside wouldn't have even sustained any major injuries. It would have been all minor bruising and maybe, a little bit of sprains, but no broken bones were.
No, don't get me wrong. It's not going to stop a semi that runs over you.
Sure, right.
But
right.
okay, but really, I mean, how
Right,
often is that? Most stuff, now somebody might bump you and knock you off a bridge because you're so little,
Well, yeah.
right? You might
And then
find
you're in a
yourself,
big, you're in a big air bubble though, so you'll float.
right? You might find yourself in a
Right,
different
right.
state when you come to.
Right.
I'm in Ohio.
There's still an
You
issue,
know.
right? So I was totally fine in my accident. Car's totaled, right?
Well, right,
Down
well, that's
on the
another
right.
story.
So that's the thing. Is
Well,
that
here's the
maybe
flip
they're
to
more
that.
susceptible
This
to
car is only $8,000.
Okay.
There you go.
Well,
No, 6,800.
Well, yeah, I know. But you get the one that's got all the goodies and it's like $8,000. But yeah, right, $1,600 to start. Yeah, it's even cheaper.
Pretty
there.
sweet.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
pretty good.
And they've got a really cool deal where that you have to put down 20%, so it's $1,200 down, and the rest is financed based on your Phillips on the car. And so
Really?
you use their gas card to do all your filling up, and they tack a chunk, and you just pay your bill every month off your gas bill. And they
Didn't
pay.
know that.
It's built.
That's kind of
Yeah,
a cool idea.
They got
Yeah.
that really well.
yeah. So they've got
I think-
so they can build in their own financing. Super cool car, man.
I think my only real problem is it's just weird. Like if I'm driving somewhere with my wife and she's sitting behind me instead of in front
Yeah,
of me.
it's it's changed.
That's the only weird.
It's not for us. It's for millennials.
Well, but
It's
no,
for-
also
you know-
look at a place like LA, right, where how much
Oh,
traffic
gosh,
they
yeah.
deal with, how many
Absolutely.
cars, all that kind of stuff. Like
It's the one
They're going to
person
be putting
car
a
that doesn't
dummy in
want
the
to commute.
back and riding in the
Yeah, exactly.
in the carpool lane.
yeah,
Right. I mean, it's the person who doesn't want to take the bus or the subway. That's the one person deal. I mean,
Really?
If it was,
is.
you know,
how many
fat
cars
friendly,
drive
I'd
around with
drive
one
it.
person all the
I'd
time?
ride in it.
right.
I'd ride in it if they had one made for me. I'd drive it. It'd be cool, man.
I don't see why you couldn't.
Yeah.
You couldn't right
I
now.
don't know. Yeah, I don't know.
I don't think
Insanity.
we'll
see how that goes.
It didn't appear to be that small.
Discriminating
It
against
really didn't.
Yeah, it's
If you
not
look
that
at the
You
side
can
view, it's a
for
pretty good sized
discrimination,
door.
you
Yeah,
make
there
it
you
large
go.
enough.
I could own like a division of the company.
Oh.
So I'd have the big and tall model. So as we covered now those little sections, our next segment is actually it's our from the field. So it's questions and things that have happened over the week with our customers and clients and things we've seen. I want to chime in with one we had this week, and it's about efficiency. So one of the things that you have to learn as an entrepreneur is the fact is that your time is worth a value, always, period. So you have to determine for whatever your output is, if it's you sell a service or you make a widget or whatever, how much does that earn you per hour? And then everything you do, you have to compare against that. When I started in the business at Edward Jones, I listened to this tape by Rick Pitino.
Rick
Guys?
Pitino, yeah.
Rick
Rick
Basketball
Pitino.
guy, yeah. And he talked about setting yourself up as a business and learning that you are a factory and you have X amount of hours in a week. That's your production units, and you better make those worth as many dollars per production unit as you can. I bought that idea. I loved it because he said everything else, outsource it. Send it out. Hire somebody to do this. Hire somebody to do that. And he goes, those crazy guys you see up there on the roof banging around their Saturday afternoons. Can you make $500 in an afternoon doing what you're doing? Yep. Will cost you $500 a job. Someone did it? No, $200. Why aren't you making $500 and paying someone $200 and you make $300? I'm like, that's freaking genius.
Yeah.
And I lived that model for my career ever since. I've never changed that. I always believed that. And to this day, I just assume pay somebody else, go do something else, so I can spend my time leisurely or making money the way I make money. Client we had in this week had a mental block on that problem because they didn't understand the disconnect between that very fact.
Right.
And so they're like, well, I don't understand. I like this and I do this. And then when I sat down and showed them the numbers, and they're like, oh, wait a minute. And I said, so your whole month's earnings are this, but if you spend that time that you're not getting maximum value, you'll actually triple your earnings per month.
Right.
And now you can pay for whatever you were paying before with no problem.
Right.
And now you pass down all this extra profit that you missed. So my advice, from in the field is learn the value of that with people, and that's one of the things from this week for
Outsource.
me. That's right. Also, outsource what you don't do well to the business squad.
Yeah.
Do you guys have anything else this week yourselves?
As
Or?
long as you keep it local,
That's right. That's it.
In,
Don't farm it out
in
overseas.
Dexter, is that like a good
Oh,
community
yeah.
to do local stuff in?
Very, very good community local stuff. Huh?
Well, I got a piece if nobody else does.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah.
It's we get a question about Social Security benefits from our clients because we do planning as well here at Coca-Cola Financial, and Congress passed some laws to close loopholes in the Social Security Act and some common strategies that couples used in the past to maximize their benefit are now closing. There's still a small window for some, but
Spousal benefits, is that what you're talking
yes, and how to claim and to maximize your benefits, and it's valued at tens of thousands of dollars in a lifetime for couples. But there's an easy answer, and the easy answer is for whichever spouse has the greatest benefit or the greatest earnings record to delay their claiming benefits until age 70, with the least earning spouse to start payments at 62 is the easy answer, if you don't want to give it any thought. A better answer is to contact us, and we can provide you a white paper on, all the ins and outs about how to manage your Social Security choices, or contact us and we can do a free Social Security maximization report for you, which is complimentary. And it's a sneaky way for us to earn your trust in your business is by providing that service. But it's not sneaky.
Why is
It's
it gotta be
just-
I don't think
it's
it's
not
sneaky
sneaky.
at all.
Sneaky,
But
right?
what you see here's our goal. Our goal is a relationship and to build a relationship.
So
and
there you go.
And we need to
So
meet you
that's
to do
right.
that. So
Pretty sneaky.
contact us and we can help you with that. And that's the frequently asked question that
Yeah.
we get quite often actually these days.
Okay. So we're gonna go around the room, and basically, you guys can chime in on networking's changed your business in some way.
Sure.
So we'll start out with you, Mr. Lippens.
How has networking changed my business in
Yeah.
some way? Well, I met you at a
Good
networking event.
And look what it's done.
We
right?
started the business squad based on basically networking events. So I mean, it's changed my business because it's allowed me to meet business owners and form relationships with them that help me be competitive in my space. I help them be competitive in their space, and that's what networking is. It's about me building relationships in the community of businesses, and it's been helpful. Yeah, absolutely.
Mike?
I always think networking is important. It's just a matter of what kind of networking. Not every type of networking is going to be beneficial to every type of business. So for me, a lot of my networking involves references from past customers.
Sure.
So, the current position that I'm working on, I actually went from being 100% self-employed to I'm actually on payroll somewhere at one of my customers because they wanted me there 40 hours a week. So, but I got to them through a website that I built 4 years ago. The guy he was working at that company. So it helps. It might grow my business more on a referral level directly rather than I found that some of the socials, although they're fun and I enjoy the after hour mixers type things, they don't always generate a lot of business for my type of business. My networking is better done through individual connections. And even being a tech guy, I'm not the guy you're going to talk to on the phone and I'm going to give you a bunch of stuff on the phone. And I really don't. My first contact that I have with somebody, maybe either a personal introduction or maybe a quick phone call to set up a meeting in person. Because even though I love technology, I think that it's a better connection to sit down with somebody in person and talk about their project and what they're. Even if they don't hire me, at least I sat down in front of them. And connected
face
that
to
way.
face, yeah, right.
And in my opinion, most of the time, that it's a double benefit because it gives the person that's potentially hiring me the chance to decide if they like me, in person.
Right.
But it also gives me the chance to be able to tell if I
Yeah.
want to work with that person.
Yeah.
Sometimes
Absolutely.
the phone can be misleading, or emails can be misleading. But eventually, I get to the point where I connect through emails with facts. Like when I'm working on the quote, you said you wanted this, you said you wanted that way. I have it in writing. When I submit the quote, they come, well, is this what I said? And I can go back.
Right.
And,
It's
whatever.
really important to talk to your customers.
Yeah, you want to avoid the customers that take up 80% of your time and only attribute 20% of your business.
Well, that goes
Important
right,
to
in,
know
that
the
goes right into
customer on
my
a personal
that
level.
goes right into my experience because my experience with networking is almost all of my clients have come from somebody that I know, and that's exactly how I want to do business because that's what allows me to be flexible about how I do my payments, to not make people pay me up front. All right, yeah, I don't know you, but you're James's good friend, so chances are you're going to pay me if for no other reason than you don't want to hurt your relationship with James.
Sure.
Right? So that to me is how I like to do business because when you start just throwing your name out and people email you about stuff and you don't have any clue who or where they are, it's like, well, I'm
They're just
risking
sucking up your time.
who knows what, right? Maybe you make money, maybe you don't. So I think, networking to find people you build connections with and getting your business through those connections allows you to do your business the way you want to do it.
Cool. Thanks.
Thanks. I would say for me, networking has changed my business from back in the day. It used to be pick up the phone, power dial, get somebody to buy a bond or a stock or whatever. And I didn't really honestly care until they bought something.
Right.
And I was like, that's what it was. Like, no, yes, no. You need it? No, buy
Pound dial.
Yeah,
Pound
absolutely. And versus where nowadays it's more the old sales phrase is hunting versus farming, and everything's farming today. It's cultivating a relationship. It's finding finding the right seed to plant, meaning like which relationship to invest in, which is the best one that's gonna be the best fit before I even work to cultivate that relationship. And that all came about through my years of networking and learning to hone that difference in the way that we do it. And now it's been more beneficial. So yeah, I don't add 40, 50, 60, 70 clients a year like I used to. Maybe I have only 10 new clients here, but now they're 10 solid clients, friends,
Exactly.
part of my personal network that, they're meaningful and the relationships are powerful actually. Yeah, for sure.
Quality over quantity.
For sure.
Well, James and I are a partnership, so you know, and it's more than 10 a year. But you know, but the reality is that until I met James, I didn't network really for shit. And now that I've met James, I really don't network for shit. But the reality is, in our partnership, James networks very well, and we, you know, benefit tremendously from it. And I gotta say, you know, better than 80% of our business, and I think that's conservative, is referral business through relationships, and a majority of them are generated by James. I mean, I have some, but they're, you know, I stumble across them, and just because they're people that I connect with just through life, you know.
Right.
But I mean, if I could learn to be a little more extroverted, but that's what was great about this conversation. It's about networking with the intent to be present, you know. I mean, truly present, and connect with with people. I think can really benefit me going forward. But
Like he said earlier, not too long ago, though, know what you're good at. If you can spend more time here,
Good point.
if you can spend more time here generating
well, by default,
revenue,
we've ended up
then
doing
you can-
that. I mean, you know,
But that's because it's what you're good at. You specialize.
yeah, well, it's where you gravitate, I guess, you know. And so James is out there, you know, having a good time, you know. But after a while, it's a grind. Anything's a grind if you do it all the time. So
Yeah, I can say that having done both ends of it, I would prefer to do whichever one makes me the money. And then if I can outsource the rest personally, and that's
well, we're
and
doing
that's
just
what we
fine.
went to.
There
Right?
you go.
And now it's got where John does that, and I do the part that I like to do, and we're good. And he likes to do the other. It's worked
So
out.
I would be a farmer at heart, and James would be a hunter at heart.
Sure.
But now we're both trying to move to the middle. So
Yeah, I guess, but something like that, I guess. But, yeah.
just let it go.
Yeah,
I bet you we could do a whole show.
I'm
on
like,
how
oh,
Coca-Cola
yeah, that's what I
Financial
should
operates.
Lay on the couch. We've replaced all 6 chairs. And there's a couch and Ben's wife here now.
There you go.
Yeah, right. Ben's
She'll
wife
come in
here.
and analyze the whole
Right,
thing.
right. All
I
right,
didn't
so,
know, is that her skill set?
Yeah,
Not
she's-
laying on the couch.
No.
Yeah.
So, all right, you guys, we usually do one more thing to wrap up our show, and that's a tip of the week. So we're going to start off going backwards around. So, John, give your tip of the week to the viewer.
Oh, criminy. Oh, all right. You know what it is? It's and I read it, and I hadn't thought of this for a while. And this is back in the personal space, but you know, there's a big craze, you know, in 07, 08 about universal life policies that were bought in the early 80s by people, were blowing up or imploding. They were terminating early because they were underfunded, because the way they were developed originally was based on a much higher interest rate environment. Okay, well, that still hasn't gone away, and people, if you have any universal life policies in place that were put in place before 2007, have at least an in-force illustration done by your insurance company to see what the life expectancy of your policy is, and better yet, come see us and we'll help you through that process to make sure that your investment to date doesn't sour on you. So,
Okay. I would tell you everybody should actually realize that they're going to need income for life. And you need to realize that all the old models you were taught by your investment advisor, whoever, if they're not talking about ways to procure yourself lifetime income, come see me so we can talk about that. And I'm not usually one to make a product push per se, but reality is you're going to have a life expectancy far greater than your parents. Reality is you need to put away income or assets to become income.
to 90.
And to
90.
actuaries are telling people in their mid 40s to expect 125 to 150 for life expectancy, so
That's
not
crazy.
even 90.
That's crazy.
You know,
Sounds close.
I don't even know if I want to live that long.
well, that's
don't, but
all that we're gonna
We're going to have to invent an off switch, you
Yeah,
know?
oh, sorry. But at any rate, to go and take a look at that and make sure your plans are in place for that, for sure. Ben?
Cool. So my tip of the week is keep your business and your personal separate.
Except on social media.
No, even on social media, right? You don't have to necessarily hide the two from each other. But if you're an LLC, if you're a corporation, if you're whatever, you want the liability protection. One of the biggest factors is, do people think they're dealing with you as a person or do the people think they're dealing with a business entity, right?
Oh,
So you're right, but no, you're
true.
not, because you always say I'm James with Coca-Cola Financial,
Right.
so they know Coca-Cola Financial.
Sure.
So you've got your personal Facebook page and then your business Facebook page, right? And some people only have a business page, and so that starts to do some personal stuff, and that's not good. And you don't want just a personal page that's used to push business stuff. And even something as simple as your business card. Make sure that it has your company's name on there too. Just
I shouldn't
keep
have
that
a
out
business
there.
card that's just a name and then a picture of like.
No, and just you should
I
never
saw
have
that. I remember that one. Tom.
No. So yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. All right.
separate.
Mike?
Thanks, Ben.
Tip of the week. All right. Don't pay for SEO on your website. How about that?
Okay, do not hack our system. He said this.
That's a pretty good tip right there.
Yeah, I cannot tell you how many times I get customers that are paying extra money or paying agencies to search engine optimize their website. There is no magic to it. It's actually pretty easy, and it's too much to get into in a little wrap-up thing, but if you're...
It's not worth paying for.
It's not worth paying for separately or adding a line item on. So if that's something you're interested in, for certain, get in touch with me because I can help you without costing you an arm and a leg like a lot of these companies.
Yeah, make sure they get a little more detail in there for their billing.
Yeah.
Yeah, right.
So I'm not going to plug anything for my tip of the week, but my tip of the week is this. Okay.
Yep.
Make sure you get to know your customers. Even before you start engaging with them.
Before they become customers.
Oh, sure. Absolutely. I actually, personally, in my business, actually caught someone trying to commit fraud last week and stopped them before we finally pushed forward with their payroll.
Wow.
And I can kind of tell you guys about
Off
it later,
camera,
but,
you won't want to miss it,
you
but you won't
talk
be
to
here.
people in person and get a good feeling for what they're doing. Because
the
once you
clients
go
you
past that
represent-
stage,
Yeah.
you can be, they could take advantage of
Yeah,
you personally,
represent you.
your bank accounts. You
That's
can
right.
be legally liable, and it's important. So
Yeah, so be
Yeah.
selective of the clients that you take
Yeah.
on because don't be so desperate because it's the company you keep. Isn't that the
Yeah.
case? Right?
Just
Well,
don't,
it's
just
not
don't tell them
even-
why
yeah.
you're not going to do
It's not even fraud.
That's right.
Yeah, it's good. It's not even fraudsters, right? I mean, from the government's perspective, fraud is black and white. In reality, fraud is gray. People think, oh, I can probably do this. It's probably not that bad.
Sure,
It's not
absolutely.
like fraud, but
Right.
from the IRS or from, the Department of Labor, it's fraud or not fraud.
That's it.
right.
Our definition of fraud is intent. So if
Right.
there's intent to deceive.
Yeah, but intent is really hard to prove one way or the other. So oftentimes,
Well, I'm afraid of that. So
No,
I'm just gonna.
fraud is fraud. Like if you lie on a lie on an application, regardless of your intent, that's a lie. That's
Yeah.
fraud.
Right.
You can say, "Well, I
Well, I'm talking
said it
about
was wrong, I didn't
Medicare
know."
fraud. There's
Well, that's
fraud.
what I'm saying.
There's
I'll tell you what,
definition,
and
fraud,
and
waste, and
for
abuse.
this person I was
Yeah.
dealing with, there was fraud on
Right.
multiple
so
levels.
that makes it very
Not
easy.
to mention possible money laundering. So
All right, then we're walking. No fraud. No fraud.
And we'll
Fraud
take on
again.
money laundering next year.
Here, Frank.
Oh,
All right, so-
sure.
But that being said, everybody, thank you. And
you.
for all of you who watched, thank you. Subscribe below if you're not a subscriber yet.
Yeah, no
Like-
one can trust us with a little click.
That's
Yeah.
right. Look for us
Or
all of
like,
us.
dislike, let us.
Yeah, let us
feedback,
know. You don't
send
like us.
Feedback.
You don't like his bow tie, whatever it is.
Good
Do
and
we
bad.
have any negative press yet? I want to, we'll address it on the air. How about that?
Careful what he asked for.
Now we'll get it.
Right. He just said haters bring the haterade. That's
We'll
what
get
he
John's
said.
cell phone number. Complaints right here.
Yeah.
Take a page from Trump's book, and any press is good press.
No,
Oh,
No.
not
Doesn't
that
matter
page.
if it's
I'm
good or
not buying
bad.
that page.
Have you looked up Trump's Yelp?
All right, we're gonna wrap.